Shotgun with Charlie.
Riding shotgun refers to the practice of sitting next to the driver in a moving vehicle. The term riding shotgun came around after the time of the stagecoach, when somebody used to sit next to the driver holding a shotgun, in case they ran into bandits. My name is Charlie Cook, and I drive a lot. I like to talk to people while I'm driving, so I interview people in my car while I'm driving. Welcome to Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Today I have with me Kirk Whatley from Whatley Training, LLC, and he is a firearm instructor here in Central Massachusetts. And say hi, Kirk.
Hi, it's Western Mass also, by the way,
Mass,
but hi.
There you go. I don't know.
You're in Central Mass.
I'm in Central Mass. I know that my life goes to one point and nothing goes further west after that. Like when I lived in Boston, my life went up to like BU.
Yep.
That was it. And then when I moved to Shrewsbury, my life went to Shrewsbury and go past Worcester. And then when I moved to Sturbridge, life went to Sturbridge and nothing west.
Yep.
So here, I don't know where we are. We're up driving through towns I don't even know.
Well, if you live in the western part of the state, and nothing exists outside of 495 as far as Beacon Hill is concerned.
We're
just a tax space for them.
Exactly. Sons of bitches. All right, so we are going to...
Shotgun with Charlie.
All right, so Kirk is a firearm instructor, and he owns his own company here in Western Massachusetts. And he's been a gun guy for a while. He's spoken at a lot of pro-gun rallies. He teaches a number of firearm students, and he teaches a lot of classes and courses. So, Kirk, how did you get started in the whole gun stuff?
You know, it's funny. I was thinking about that. I knew you'd ask me that question, and so I've been thinking about it. And, you know, it's kind of a long story. I'll try to boil it down. And that is, growing up, there were always guns around my house. Mm-hmm. They were always there. My dad always hunted. My older brothers always hunted. And it was very natural when I got old enough to go hunting myself. And so having firearms around was just something we always did. And then growing up, when I was about 10 years old, we moved down to East Haddam, Connecticut. We had a 20-acre farm surrounded by woods, hundreds of acres of woods. And so it became very natural for us to deer hunt. And perhaps shoot varmints getting into the barn and eating the grain and things like that. So firearms have always been a tool for accomplishing things that we needed to get done. Putting meat on the table, maybe some personal protection at home or home protection, and then varmint control on the farm.
Nice.
And we never thought of it as anything more than a tool, like you would a hammer or a shovel or a backhoe or something like that.
Gotcha.
I went to school, went to college in Springfield area, and it became very apparent very quickly that Massachusetts was anti-gun. Mm-hmm. And so I got involved just talking to people and writing letters to congressmen. Check this out.
Writing letters to congressmen at
12 years old.
At 12?
12 years old,
God.
I'm writing letters to my representatives in Connecticut, getting into arguments with them on gun control.
At 12?
At 12, yes. I was a real nerd, man, let me tell you.
Oh my God.
Super
Dude, I didn't even know who my congressman was at 12.
Yeah, so I got into a conversation, Chris Dodd, Toby Moffett, those people.
Wow.
And I think it was Toby Moffett I was engaged in a rather heated exchange with. And he was citing a bunch of stuff that I just flat out didn't believe because of my experience with firearms. So I said, I don't believe what you're telling me. I want to see the research that you're quoting.
Yeah.
And about 3 weeks later, I had this book about 8 inches thick arrive at my house, addressed to me.
Wow.
And at 12 years old, Charlie, I read it.
Unbelievable.
And I wrote my congressman back telling him why he was wrong, and I cited to page and paragraph in
from
the report from his book telling him why he was wrong.
That's kick-ass. Man, when I was 12, I just wanted to get mail. So I would go through catalogs, and if somebody had an 800 number and they'd send you a free catalog, I'd call them up and say, here's my name and address, send it to me. I just wanted to get mail, let alone, like, deal with congressmen. Holy moly. That's awesome.
So it's been something I've been pretty adamant about, and I love teaching also. I love instructing at a wide variety of levels, and I just decided, I got certified by Gun Owners Action League here in Massachusetts for Train the Trainer. It was the NRA Basic Pistol, and I got certified for the Basic Pistol, Basic Shotgun, and Home Firearm Safety. I haven't pursued the Utah concealed carry. You teach that.
Yeah.
And so I just get people going to your class.
How come? Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
I have. I'm certified to teach the home firearm safety, the basic pistol, refuse to be a victim, the Utah class, but also the NRA basic rifle class.
Yep.
Not the basic shotgun class. How come you have shotgun and not rifle, and how come I have rifle and not shotgun?
That's what they were offering at the time.
Ah, gotcha.
That's what Goal was offering. It was those 3 things, so I took it and I got certified.
Oh, that's cool.
And call out to John Green, great guy.
Love
great
Dr.
instructor.
Green. Oh
He's
my God,
fantastic.
John is awesome.
Yep.
I call John my gun guru, so whenever I have a question, I call him.
He's my gun law guru. I turn to him for questions on things. He's been fantastic.
He is. I actually, when I had this idea to do riding shotgun with Charlie, I actually sent John an email, and I said, hey, I have this idea. I want to do this show. I want to call it Riding Shotgun with Charlie. I've got a friend who's going to let me borrow his truck. I'm going to get a gun rack. I want to put a couple shotguns in the back window. And it's so funny because he's like, I said, is it legal for me to do that? And he said, it is legal. However, I would carry a copy of the laws with you for when you get pulled over, not if you get pulled over.
Yes, exactly.
I thought it'd be great to drive somebody around like Jim Wallace, drive them around downtown Boston, doing this with a couple of shotguns in the window. Like, that would be hysterical.
You'd be surrounded by SWAT and no team
Oh
in
my
downtown
God.
Boston.
That would be fun to videotape.
Yeah, out here in Western Mass, except for Springfield or Chicopee, but any place else, you probably get pulled over and they want to know what you have.
What you got?
What you got, man?
Totally. So anyway, Dr. Green.
Anyway, so Dr. Green, but kudos to John Green. He does a great job. And I don't know, it fermented itself, and I have been so frustrated by just the sheer volume of misinformation and lies put out there by the media and the left and the politicians and things like that. I got really, really fed up. I didn't do much with my NRA stuff to begin with.
Okay.
A couple of years went by. I was very busy doing a variety of things. One day I just got so fed up, and I said, I've got to do something. And I said, I'm going to take this NRA certification that I've got, and I'm going to start educating people, and I'm going to get really active and really vocal in doing this. And that's kind of how the whole thing took off.
Cool.
It cost a fair amount of money to get started, I'll tell you. You know that.
I do.
Yeah, I got 12 handguns I bring to the basic pistol class.
God bless you. God bless
so
you.
I had to buy a bunch of handguns, which of course is money out of pocket.
It is money out of pocket, but I got to tell you, it's a tax write-off.
Oh, it is, absolutely.
I love that.
Yes. Yep, you got to get insurance for the class.
Yep.
I carry concealed carry insurance as well, so I've got that. You had to buy the kits, you had to do all the marketing material. At a time when I really was extraordinarily tight on funds, I just bit the bullet and decided I'm going to do it. And like I'm sure you did. You just said one day, I got to do this.
My deal is this. I didn't grow up hunting or shooting. Honestly, I was teaching in a public school on September 11th, and afterwards we had a meeting with the teachers and the principal, and he said, if someone gets in the building that's not supposed to be there, he's going to get on the intercom and he's going to say, the Eagle has landed, and that means everybody hide under their desks. So I was like, that seems kind of crazy. Like, I want to be a rock star. That seems kind of crazy to a guy who plays the trombone in a band.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, if all the teachers on the first floor had a gun, they could shoot the bad guy. The teachers on the second floor could keep on teaching.
Yeah.
And I said this at the lunchroom, and everyone's like, that's kind of crazy. I'm like, I really don't think so. So I ended up going out.
How dare you defend yourself?
Right. And I didn't realize I was learning a lot. So I was a new father, or I don't want to say young father, but a new father. And I was just trying to figure out where I was politically and where I stood for things. And so I ended up, I guess I realized they were Democrats, but I didn't really know what a Democrat was, and I knew they didn't like guns. So I ended up going on February vacation, going to get my gun license, and I think finally by June is when I had a gun license. And that's how I got into it. It was a fluke. And after a couple of years of shooting, I became a range safety officer when I ran the bowling pin shoots at the club. I was doing the firearm safety education days with John Green with the Gun Owners Action League. And after doing those for a couple of years, John's like, hey, you're really into the gun stuff. You're a really good instructor. Why don't you get your instructor certification? So I had to save the $350, $400 to do that. And then I didn't know what to do, so I had some business cards printed up. I didn't know what to do after that. So it was a slow process for me to get things rolling. Mm-hmm. And at first it was literally like I'd do I'd do a basic pistol class for $150, and I was gone all day. I got to play guns all day, so I felt cool. I got to make a little bit of money, and I used the money to buy guns, to buy guns and ammo. Like that was, we were on a tight budget, young kids and everything, and that's, I'm like, if I want to make some extra money, I got to find a way to do it on my own. So that's how I got into it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I find that what I found was that for those that don't know me, I like speaking in public. We're kind of wired a little bit weird by most people's standards. So
you actually spoke with Jan Morgan recently.
Yes,
which was very cool.
That was really cool. We had the Second Amendment rally in Belchertown at the Swift River Gun Club a couple of Saturdays ago. Jan Morgan was there. Larry Pratt, President of Gun Owners of America, was there.
Right.
And I got to speak after Larry, which was a huge honor.
That's awesome.
And it was really great. I spent a lot of time talking with Jan Morgan as well. There's going to be a new chapter of the Pink Pistols forming in Western Mass.
Very cool.
For those of you that don't know, Pink Pistols is part of the LGBT, I guess. Thank you.
I can't remember. I don't
remember.
We're not them.
Yeah, but we support their right to own firearms.
Oh my God, absolutely. I love the Pink Pistols motto.
Yes.
Armed gays don't get bashed.
There you go.
I love that.
Yep. So there's going to be a new chapter formed in Western Mass. They've asked me to be one of their instructors, which I gladly accepted.
Oh, that's kick-ass.
Yep. So we're going to have a good time with that as well.
Very cool. Very cool.
So anyway, I love speaking out, and I've written countless letters to the editor of the Daily Hampshire Gazette. I've had some guest columns in there concerning the Second Amendment as well. And what's interesting, I've learned something kind of fascinating through this whole process, Charlie, is that there are more of us out there than anybody realizes.
No kidding.
There really are. The difference is that the gun owners tend to be conservatives, and conservatives don't like calling attention to themselves, especially in this area, because in this area near Amherst and Northampton, you will be ostracized. You will be an outcast.
Right.
Even at your work, if the parents find out that you are in favor of guns and you have guns, there are other parents that will not let their children come over to your house to play with your child.
Because there's guns in the house.
There's guns in the house. Yeah.
I don't know about you. I've only been asked by one person, and I don't hide the fact that I'm a gun guy and a gun instructor, and I carry 3 knives and a gun when I go to the grocery store. But I don't hide it, and I've only had one person say, "Hey, you know what? We know you've got guns in the house. Do you keep everything locked up? Is everything unloaded?" And I said, "The only thing that's not loaded, everything's locked and secured. The only one that's loaded and unsecured is the one that's on my hip." And they're like, "Oh my God, you have a gun on your hip?" I'm like, "Yeah, I just came back from the grocery store, of course."
Yeah. Well, I tend to be kind of out there by some measures. I was an instructional basketball, soccer, and baseball coach, and one of my favorite T-shirts to wear was a shirt that on the back of it said "Celebrate Diversity," and it had all the rainbow colors, and then it had 36 different pistols and semi-automatics on the back of it, all labeled.
Nice.
So people kind of knew.
They kind of can tell.
They can kind of tell, yeah. So I would have opportunities to speak at different events, and I would get invited to speak, and I find that I'm just getting invited to speak more. People know that I do speak out. I get phone calls all the time now. People have a variety of questions. They want to find out about something. And I find that in my little niche, and it's a very small niche, please, that I've kind of become the gun guy in my little niche right there. And I'm very happy about that. I'm thrilled. And one of the big, I'm sure you must get this rush too, when you get somebody in your class, your basic pistol class, that is afraid of guns, or they're there because their boyfriend or husband made them and they don't really like guns, and so forth and so on. So you spend 8, 9, 10 hours with them during the course of a day, and at the end of the day, they're really jazzed up, and you've given them the form to get their LTC permit, the application, and they're filling it out with you, and they are really jazzed to become a licensed gun holder. They're excited about it.
It's something new for them.
Yes.
It's for a lot of people, it's pushing their limit, pushing their comfort zone.
Oh yeah.
Because it's totally new for them, and they know plenty of people that are not for it or against it, and or they just don't know anything about it, and they get excited about it. Absolutely, absolutely.
It's wonderful too. I've had students that have been leaning heavily towards the anti-gun side. When at the end of the class, they realize that it's simply a tool, and it depends on the operator if it's a good tool or a bad tool. and they see the value of it, and they go to get their LTC. Something else I'd like to do in the class, and I'm sure you've experienced this also taking shooters to the range, is bringing out the AR-15. I'll gotta tell this. I mean, hopefully no future students will be watching this. Or maybe they will.
Maybe they will. That's
maybe they will. I've got a guitar case that I carry my AR-15 in.
Nice.
And I bring it down I tell the students when the class starts, I have a special treat for them down at the range when we're shooting, and I leave it at that. Then I bring my guitar case down to the range, and they all look at me like, "Are you going to sing?" And I'll say, "Well, you're going to find out." So it's towards the end of class, and I go, "All right, you guys, we've been doing what you guys want to do. You've been having so much fun. It's my turn to have fun now."
Right.
And I pull the guitar case out.
Yeah.
And they moan and go, "You're going to sing to us?" And I say, I am a frustrated country singer. So, however, if you're really nice, I'm unzipping my guitar case at the time. I said, if you're really nice, I'll let you play my instrument too. And I pop it open, and there's the AR-15 in the guitar case.
That's awesome. No.
And students just love it. The thing that I find best about doing that is when the women shoot the AR-15.
Mm-hmm.
It is, is the big black evil gun they show on the media,
Right.
That loads itself and drives itself somewhere and kills people with no operator whatsoever.
Right.
But the women, when they finally get to shoot it, they realize there's not much recoil. They can control it. They feel badass shooting it, frankly. I've had some women hoot and holler when they're shooting it.
Of course.
But it totally demystifies it for them.
Mm-hmm.
And you see their face when they get it that it's not the gun, it's the person holding the gun. It's a lot of fun to see them, but it's really just so rewarding to see that light bulb go on.
To see yeah, absolutely.
This is not what the media is telling me it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, really rewarding.
I've had people say, when I take out a semi-auto handgun, like a Glock, and I say, here's a Glock, it's a semi-auto handgun, I say, you squeeze the trigger, how many times does it go bang? They're like, it goes bang 10 times. No, it goes bang once. Why would it go bang 10 times? You squeeze the trigger once, it goes bang once. You squeeze the trigger once, it goes bang once. Just like a revolver. You squeeze the trigger once, it goes bang once.
Mm-hmm.
I had, what was I just thinking, Eagle Black rifles? Oh, I tell everyone that I have a pistol grip on mine.
Mm-hmm.
I have a post band, so I can only have one evil feature.
Yeah.
And the evil feature, of course, is the pistol grip. So I tell everyone, I said, when I bought it, for 2 minutes, I probably shouldn't say this, for 2 minutes, I bought an upper. I pieced my AR together. I got the lower receiver. My life was really bad at the time, and I got the lower receiver when Obama was first elected.
Mm-hmm.
And then over the next year or two, I got a lower parts kit and I got an Ace skeleton stock, and I sat on that until he was reelected. And he was elected on a Tuesday, or reelected on a Tuesday. I sent John Green an email on Wednesday. I'm like, dude, I gotta get an AR. Like, I really do. On Thursday, I met with John. He gave me a catalog for Midway USA. And then on Friday, I called up Midway USA and I ordered a DPMS upper.
Mm-hmm.
And it came with a flash hider. And I had to get a muzzle brake to put on it. A week later, it came in the mail. I was stoked. Everyone turns into a 12-year-old boy when you bring a gun out.
Oh, of course.
So I put the AR together. For 2 minutes, I had an assault weapon. And then I took it apart. I just had gun parts. And then I went down to a gun store. I had him take off the flash hider, put the muzzle brake on, and put a pin in it so I can't take it out. So I only have one evil feature. But I said if you're a non-gun folk, I classify people as 3 ways. You're a pro-gun person, you're a non-gun folk, or an anti-gun wacko.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a non-gun folk and an anti-gun wacko, and you see an AR-15, it's evil, you've seen it in the media, and so on and so forth, you think it's a machine gun, all this nonsense. And then I say, mine only has one evil feature, it's a pistol grip. It doesn't have a collapsible stock, it doesn't have a flash hider, it doesn't have a bayonet lug, and it doesn't have a grenade launcher. It's only got one evil feature. But if it had 2 evil features, then it's an assault weapon.
Oh, I totally agree. And what I go through with my students is I've got pictures of the classic AR-15 the media shows you,
Mm-hmm.
and then I've got the Woodstock AR-15.
Oh, I love that picture.
And I point out that everybody in the world accepts that the Woodstock AR-15 is a legitimate sporting rifle. Nobody questions that whatsoever.
Right.
So, but suddenly you put this black composite stuff on it, and now it's an assault rifle, when the wood frame one has the exact same mechanism, fires the exact same round, and takes the exact same magazine. It just looks different.
It's all about looks.
It is about looks.
It is. And anyone that's been in the military, you weren't in the military, were you?
I was not.
I was not in the military either. I went to college to be a rock star. And people say, I tell people this when I do gun classes. They say, well, how did that work out for you? And I say, well, I'm the only gun instructor you have that's open for Dolly Parton, for Ray Charles, for Earth, Wind & Fire, and that's performed with Meatloaf.
Oh, cool.
So my background's a little bit different than your typical gun guy, or what you would think your typical gun guy would be.
I really don't think there is a typical gun person per se. Yeah, you can think about down south where guns are accepted, and the crime rate is lower, by the way.
Kennesaw, Georgia. Kennesaw, Georgia.
Yeah, Kennesaw, Georgia. But it's interesting is, and I'm sure I'm interested to hear about your stories too, but I start off every class that I do of, why are you here? What brought you here? And so the themes that I get are, people are seeing what's happening out there in the world. They don't like what they're seeing. They feel the need to protect themselves. And so they're here to learn about guns. That is a very common theme that I get in my classes across all age groups, across, doesn't matter what gender the person is. That is a very common theme that probably about 75% of my students, if not more, say that. How about you?
Wow, that's cool. I've actually had people, it's sort of similar. I actually had a friend of mine, they're very liberal, like die-hard, live in Massachusetts, the whole thing. They've actually told me, they're like, their view of gun ownership is just a little bit different because they know me, and they knew me before I got into being a gun guy, and they knew me afterwards. And they're like, you seem like a regular guy before, and you seem like a regular guy now that you're into this. I'm like, really? And I got to tell you, I find that incredibly, I hate to say this, I find it incredibly bigoted.
It is.
Because they think just because if you're a gun guy, and believe me, I don't like picking on these guys, but they think all of us are Duck Dynasty guys, where we got these big beards, and we're all hillbillies, and all this sort of stuff. I gotta tell you, totally off topic, I love the Duck Dynasty guys. I don't know if you know what their story is, but they grew up with, the father, Phil Robertson, had no money. He had to hunt for food. He was a food hunter, not a trophy hunter. And he ended up, having he was a football player. He had a scholarship for football. Ended up making duck calls rather than staying into football. So what ended up happening is he became successful at making duck calls, and now he's worth $15 million. His son's worth $20 million. The other son is worth $10 million, and the crazy uncle is worth $5 million. So you can call them rednecks, you can call them hillbillies, you can call them whatever you want. They're multimillionaires.
Yep, absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah, it's funny. I used to work for the Department of Employment and Training. This camera's getting a little loose here.
All right.
In Northampton, and my job was to help people get jobs. And I would give workshops, resume writing, interviewing, and things like that. And one day, politics came up in this class. This was, every week we'd have these meetings going on until people got jobs and stuff. One day, politics came up, and I mentioned that I was a Republican, and there was an audible gasp in the audience.
They never saw one before.
And this woman in the front row said, "You can't be a Republican." I said, "And why not?" She said, "Because you have a heart."
Oh my gosh.
I was like, "Really?"
How do they know you had a heart? What are they?
Well, I've been working with these people for weeks, helping them get jobs.
Gotcha. So you showed them that you cared, and then they thought that
I was just a caring individual that was helping them and warm, trying to help them get jobs and really supportive to them and stuff. But gosh, I couldn't be a Republican. That just doesn't fit the narrative,
Exactly. You know what I think is real interesting is that people, without getting into too much into political stuff, people think that Republicans don't care for people, but I really think it's quite the opposite.
It is.
Because Republicans want you to stand on your own, and they want you to survive on you, and they want you to be successful. They want you to work hard. They want you to do all that stuff. But the left doesn't really seem to want that. I think there's I don't know if you've seen this thing that goes around Facebook, and it's a picture of this really, really nice big house. And it says a Republican or a conservative sees this and says, "Man, that's a beautiful house. Everybody should have one." And then it says the Democrats would see one and they'd say, "That's too big of a house. No one should have a house that big." That's crazy. I've got a little rinky-dink car, and the speedometer goes up to 140 miles an hour. I've never had it at 140 miles an hour. That seems nuts. But, when we talk about high-cap magazines, Why do you have to have 30 rounds to shoot somebody?
I don't consider a 30-round high cap. I consider
It's
it
a
just
standard
normal
cap.
standard magazine.
Exactly.
Yeah, people say, why do you need an AR? It's like, well, why do you need to drive the car that you do?
Right.
Why does your car go up to 140?
Why does it go up to 140? Speed limit's 75.
People need to keep in mind also that at the time that the Second Amendment was written, the musket was the assault rifle, even though Armalite didn't exist back then. Gun people will get that joke. Was the assault rifle of the day.
Right.
It was always the Founding Fathers' intention that the civilians should have military arms similar to that of the standing army to prevent a standing army from taking over.
Exactly.
And for those that don't believe me, just go back and read the writings of people like George Mason, in particular, one of the Founding Fathers that wrote about the Second Amendment. So much information out there. Although, if you don't believe me, you're probably not watching this video anyway. So I enjoy things like that. I was thrilled that you asked me to come along for this riding shotgun with Charlie. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
I'm glad to have you. We are almost where we need to be, so we are going to we're going to start wrapping things up.
Okay.
And we'll get out of here. And honestly, Kirk, this has been a lot of fun. I hope we get a chance to do this again sometime.
Oh, I would love to.
Because it's an honor and a privilege to talk to a like-minded person, to a guy who's an instructor, to a guy who is outspoken, to a guy who enjoys public speaking, and just an all-around great guy that gets it like everyone else does.
Does this mean you're buying lunch next time?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Lunch is on me.
All right.
You can either have ding-dongs or ho-hos. It's your choice.
Oh, man. No. Ho-hos makes me think of Bill Clinton. I think I'll have the ding-dongs. Ding-ding.
All right. Well, listen, I think we need to pull in. We're almost, I think we're where we need to be. Let's pull in right here.
Yep, here we are.
All right. Sounds cool.
All right.
Guys, listen, thank you very much. It's been a great episode. Thanks a lot. Kirk Whatley of Whatley Training, LLC in Western Massachusetts. Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks, Charlie. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, take care.